Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the John H. Chafee Memorial Lecture on Science, Policy, and the Environment. For the past 20 years, at the annual conference of the now Global Council for Science and the Environment, we've honored the legacy of Senator John H. Chafee, a Republican senator from Rhode Island and former governor of that state, who also served as Secretary of the Navy in the Nixon administration. John Chafee was a committed conservationist and a political leader who worked across party lines to advance environmental protection. Among the bills Mr. Chafee fostered while in the minority was the Clean Water Act of 1986 and the 1990 amendments to the Clean Air Act. He was also an architect of the Oil Pollution Act of 1990 and the Superfund program in 1980 to clean up hazardous waste sites. Senator Chafee's legacy of collaboration for the environment is reflected in the focus of this year's Chafee Lecture, entitled Indigenous Knowledge and Western Science, Collaboration, Relationship, and Climate Solutions. In this 31st year of our work, as the National Council for Science and the Environment becomes the Global Council for Science and the Environment, our focus is systemic justice, collaborating across all perceived boundaries to resolve our most pressing issues of the day. Our attention is to the oneness of all Earth's inhabitants, human and non-human, and our interdependence. It is with this emphasis and intent that GCSE moves into its next phase to partner across the globe to address climate change and other global issues through respectful, supportive relationships with each other and our environment. Several years ago, I was invited by the Center for Humans and Nature to publish an essay in response to the question, what does Earth ask of us? My answer was this: Earth asks us to know ourselves and to act as citizens of Earth, rather than as consumers in an economy that does not fully recognize Earth or its non-human components. To get to that answer, though, I had to wade through my first reactions, which revealed the deeply ingrained teachings of my Western science education. The anthropomorphizing Earth removes this question from the realm of consideration for scientists. My initial reaction demonstrates the power of cultural and educational teachings and their limitations. And recognizing that this was a conditioned response, after years of working to see it, I hesitated, I took a deep breath, and I reconsidered. I stepped out of the constrained Western scientist view, from which I initially felt required to answer, and I reconsidered the question as just me, the human me. And I heard an answer different than the dismissive first response, that this question is anthropomorphizing and therefore not a question for science. The deep knowledge that I have as human told me that it is precisely this animism that will allow me to answer as fully human, including as scientist. By limiting my response to only the intellectual, I limit the potential for insight. And so my answer, Earth asks us to know ourselves and to act as citizens in relationship with all, human and non-human. I've come a long way since writing that essay in 2013, realizing the importance of acknowledging the elitist history of Western science and the need to truly respect and collaborate with other knowledge systems to solve our most pressing problems. We need to build the infrastructure necessary to intertwine multiple knowledge systems in our quest to live sustainably. To do this requires humility, willingness to learn, knowing that we'll make mistakes, but clear in our intent to honor each other and the natural world as citizens, human and non-human alike. The dominant paradigm of Western science continues to provide us with incredibly valuable knowledge. Acknowledging that it alone is not enough is also critically important to advancing the relationships necessary to address global issues like climate change. By weaving together multiple knowledge systems, we will be able to resolve these issues peacefully. Taking a cue from the National Science Foundation, we can think of this endeavor as being one of transformation and convergence. Transformation is defined as a thorough or dramatic change in form or appearance, according to Oxford. UNESCO describes social transformation as taking positive steps for social and political action to protect communities against negative consequences of global change. It certainly can be argued that climate change is destabilizing our environment. Adapting to climate change, even as we strive to mitigate it, requires transformational action as we seek to reestablish or maintain a stable yet dynamic environment. This means acting to change system characteristics, including technological, economic, political, and cultural restructuring. The second concept is convergence. NSF defines convergence research as a means of solving vexing problems, in particular, complex problems focusing on societal needs. It entails integrating knowledge, methods, and expertise from different disciplines and forming novel frameworks to catalyze scientific discovery and innovation. Convergence spans disciplines to embrace multidisciplinarity, bringing together many perspectives, interdisciplinarity, learning to work together across disciplines, and transdisciplinarity, bringing people from everywhere together and discovering how to learn together. This is exactly what we are doing at this conference and with the Chafee lecture today. People from different disciplines, different cultures, different knowledge systems, community leaders and citizens pursuing common challenges, intermingling knowledge, theories, methods, and data, forming new frameworks and paradigms to address pressing issues as we face the uncertainties of climate change together. Oren Lyons, faith keeper of the Onondaga Nation, on whose ancestral lands I live and work, addresses this as value change for survival, the need for a fundamental change of heart. The Global Council for Science and the Environment is intentionally focused on transformation, recognizing that incremental change in the face of environmental and social destabilization is not enough. We have learned through many different knowledge systems that everything is connected, and that uncertainty is a baseline and continuing condition. Connections and uncertainty. Collectively, we're still coming to terms with much of this. The concept of convergence, looking across disciplinary and community lines, can help us to better understand and organize ourselves for resilience through relationship with each other and with the Earth's systems on which we are mutually dependent. Through convergence, we can achieve transformation, weaving the threads of connection and uncertainty with creativity and consciousness. The conversation you are about to hear is about relationship. It is about sovereignty and respect. It's about our very survival. And it is with gratitude that we receive these words of wisdom from our friends and colleagues. I would now like to introduce Laura Weiland, Senior Fellow of the Global Council for Science and the Environment, our moderator for this year's Chafee Lecture. Laura is the former director of the Omega Center for Sustainable Living in Rhinebeck, New York, here in the United States. Laura has lived, studied, and worked across several countries and the United States, imagining, designing, and creating non-traditional and cross-cultural educational experiences for herself and others. Her studies and experience range from biology, farming, permaculture, and regenerative frameworks, to eco-social design, community organizing, and climate education. She holds a master's degree in sustainable development with a focus in community development. Laura designed and organized the first Drawdown Learn conferences in partnership with the Project Drawdown organization to explore how to activate a solutions-oriented approach to climate education and engagement through schools and community participation. She's participated on a steering committee for the UN Climate Education, Communication, and Outreach Stakeholders Community, and the U.S. Action for Climate Empowerment Framework, reflecting her strong involvement in the regional, national, and global network, coordination, collaboration, and relationship building. I now pass this on to Laura Weiland. Please enjoy the conversation.